EVs are taking the world by storm, but the big thing you've got to realize is that you can't build EVs unless you have EV factories. We've seen Tesla build theirs all over the world, and we've seen others struggling to catch up, but it seems that day may finally be here. So let's take a look at a bunch of new EV factories around the world. I'm Brian. Welcome to Future Ozza. Joining me today is my good friend, Herbert. How are you, Herbert? It's so good to see you.
Just learned something new today, Brian. You can't build EVs without EV factories.
I know. I am breaking the news. You heard it here first. Exclusive. Future Ozza content. You can't do it. There was a time when people thought this was a big talking point.
Right.
When the
That
legacy
is true.
guys
Yes.
flip the switch. They're going to flip the switch and then it's over. They're going to build faster, cheaper, better.
Good point.
Yeah. And
I remember somebody told me that they were saying, don't you know that Toyota has 80 factories already out there. And if they want to catch up to EVs, they'll just flip the switch and build EVs. And then what did they learn, right? What did Toyota do? They go and say, well, okay, we're going to take our existing factory. We're going to create a factory that has 4 different lines in them, right? A hydrogen line, a hybrid line, an EV line, and our gas ice line. And then they pulled back and says, oops, that doesn't work. We have to build an EV only factory. So,
well, we could make 4 terrible cars. Trust me, you can definitely do that. And that's the trick. I'm trying to remember who it was. It might have been Lars from Best in Tesla who was pointing out. He looked at a factory that had been remade in Europe. It was, I think, a Ford factory that they said, we're going to spend $1 billion, $2 billion retrofitting this to become. And he said, they've got 60 factories. Are they going to spend $60 to $100 billion retrofitting
costs
all
them the
of
same
them?
amount of money to retrofit than it is just to start from scratch, is what they think they've learned.
That appears to be the case. A lot of greenfield construction, some of which I think we're going to discuss right now. BYD has opened their EV factory in Thailand, expanding regional presence. The factory is the Chinese automaker's first in Southeast Asia, where it already dominates the fast-growing market for electric vehicles. I think you might need to qualify that a bit, but maybe. There's some of their vehicles on display. It's a mere $486 million factory with 10,000 workers. And I had Darren Jung on the other day. He was someone I met at the X Takeover in Austria. He was the moderator of my panel, and we discussed all these. This is not the highest volume factory you've ever seen. Let's see. And Hyundai, which will operate, a facility. So there are other ones here, a joint venture. Right. So this is happening. BYD has begun its march beyond their home country. How are you feeling about this?
Yeah, so I think I get a lot of my information from you, dude. You taught me that Thailand is a great location for cars. It's actually quite important. Specifically, I think, though, that somebody was saying that trucks are second largest, right? Thailand and actually has the second largest or third largest market for trucks. Yeah. Anyways, I think it's important to be in Southeast Asia, and this is a good footprint for BYD to move outside of China. They're already there. They've opened it up. I don't know if it matters how much it is. Like, is it over $1 billion, less than $1 billion a factory? It's what's needed for that area. They know what they're doing, and
yes,
yeah, that's enough. I mean, that actually shows you how incredible they are to keep the price point low.
To make a factory that's capable of serious volume for less than $1 billion is quite impressive. Thailand is not a stranger to making aggressive deals to get factories built. I pointed out to my friend who lived in Thailand that, boy, it's weird. All the taxis here are Toyotas. And he said, that's not weird. The deal was Toyota will only build the factory if they can guarantee a certain volume. So the government said, we'll mandate Toyotas be the only taxi. And there you go. You got your volume. I didn't fact check that, but he lived and worked there, so I believed him. Other factories coming up, I suppose we should mention, of course, the big one, BYD has agreed to build a billion-dollar factory in Turkey. This will, as you and I have discussed on another show, help them circumvent the big import taxes because Turkey is in Europe. And I think, unless I'm mistaken, the Financial Times is in 1995. This is a terrible bit of web coding here, guys. I don't know why your website looks like it was built by my nephew in HTML. Yeah, I just did that to show how beautiful it is.
Okay, there you go. That's easier.
Yeah, of course, of course. I just wanted to give the full picture. So this is a plant capable of building 150,000 vehicles a year. Not outrageous volume, but 3,000 a week, that's fine. We'll take it. Thoughts on this?
Yeah, this is it. This is it. China is going to go global. They are going to be able to be global. There was a big debate I was having with a lot of experts on this space. I would ask them, what's the likelihood that China will go global? And some people are saying, no, they can't do it. They won't be able to go. And this is the challenge, right? Can they do it? You just reported that they're opening up one in Thailand. Now they're opening one in Turkey, and they're building one in Mexico too, right? And Brazil.
Mexico and Brazil, yes. And this is long after they built electric bus factories all over the world, including in Los Angeles. Yeah. And if when I was talking with Darren, we talked about BYD, and he said, yes, they've got a good foothold throughout Southeast Asia already, also in Australia and New Zealand. And I said, okay, now let's talk Li Auto, NIO, Xiaopeng. And he said, you just don't see them. They just don't have any volume.
Too small. Yeah.
Too small. These are companies that really want to be like BYD, and they are working their butts off to get there, but they're just not there yet. If we look a little further here, Turkey has a large automotive industry with foreign groups, including Hyundai, Toyota, Renault, and Ford, operating in the country, often through joint ventures. Automakers produced 1.5 million vehicles in Turkey last year. So this 150,000 would represent 10% of the volume, which is substantial. A little bit less exciting, at least in terms of what we're thinking here. Toyota is planning to build electric car factory for Lexus models in China.
I didn't know this. This is a big deal. What do you mean less exciting? This is huge.
Well, the volume is going to be low, is the reason I would say. But Toyota has yet to make an official statement, but this is being reported by Chinese news sources. And so they would, if Toyota's been very hesitant to go all in on EVs, as we've seen, as we've discussed, but if you wish to remain competitive or even present in international markets, you have to do what those international markets want. You could say, look, we're never going to install airbags, but guess what? Any country that requires them, you're going to not be able to sell in. So it's rumored to be a joint venture between state-owned Guangzhou Automotive Group, GAC, and is said to increase the manufacturer's market share by competing with Chinese rivals. I think that's a good thing. I think you're going to avoid import tariffs. And I think Lexus has a lot of brand cachet that would help it sell, that people would like. And Toyota historically has quite good engineering.
So this partnership with GAC, for example, that is what all the European brands had to do. BMW, Mercedes, they've all had to do this. So to get into China, you have to partner with a Chinese manufacturer. Just much easier. So that's great. Yeah. They're getting in there, but they need to get in there, but it's not a huge risk because they're partnering with GAC to do it. And the question is whether or not GAC builds a whole car and they just put their insignia on it like the other guys do, or is a little bit more than that.
You know, I wouldn't be concerned. GAC makes good cars. That is one of the brands that I will be checking out in Monterey this week. So there is another neat one I got to find that I was lucky enough to find is this rundown. Look at North American EV assembly plant projects that are underway. Okay. And there's a handful here. BMW is investing $1 billion in its Greer, South Carolina factory to build at least 6 battery-powered models by 2030. Well, that's pretty slow, but let's get them out the door. BMW already has the models. They've been selling them in Europe and other places. And especially when it comes to SUVs, you need to build them in the US if you wish to get around the big import taxes on them. So this project began last year, million square foot expansion to the 8 million square foot plant, and it will increase the assembly area by 800,000 square feet and body shop by 300. Annual production capacity unchanged at 500,000. Interesting. That's an awfully big plant to make half the vehicles Giga Shanghai makes, but all right. So yeah, BMW, that's good.
Yeah,
Yes.
fun fact, Aptronic humanoid robot company is partnered with BMW, and they'll be there in that particular plant to test out the humanoid robot.
That is very cool. You guys, if you need any information on humanoid robots, Herbert has a fantastic dream team put together, including people you might recognize like CERN, Basher, Dr. Know-It-All, and Dr. Scott Walter. Definitely head over and check that out. BMW in San Luis Potosi, Mexico, investing almost $1 billion in its plant to produce their new class models. It'll be another big one. And again, this is how you get more EVs into any part of North America, because the USMCA trade agreement, which is only a few years old, allows for that to happen. Ford in Oakville, Ontario, is investing over $1 billion to transform its plant. And again, a foreign country in North America that would be able to sell vehicles throughout North America without import taxes. Ford in Stanton, Tennessee, and General Motors in Kansas City, Kansas, and General Motors in, it's not Orion, is it Orion? Somebody remind me in the comments.
Right. Scott did.
Orion.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think for me it was just people in Michigan who were helpful enough to make me sound like a local. So GM is investing $4 billion to retool the plant in suburban Detroit to build EVs, the Silverado and GMC Sierra. And then we've got Honda in Ontario and Honda in Ohio and Hyundai in Georgia. These are all, guys, it's happening.
It's happening.
Yeah, I would tell you how excited I am, but I think you might know. And if only there was any other news, but of course there isn't. Oh, wait, Tesla is preparing for construction.
Before you get there, I have to correct myself. I misspoke. It's not Aptronic and BMW. It's actually Figure Robotics. Figure AI has robots in BMWs in South Carolina, and Aptronic is partnered with Mercedes. So I apologize for that.
Thank you. It's easy to make a misstatement like that, and the correction is appreciated. So you may have all already seen this, but Zangler on YouTube and X has shared that there is activity, that their steel has been delivered to what we expect to be the semi plant in Nevada. And it could also be just more battery capacity, but I'm not convinced. I think this is where the semi will be made, and it will be made at volume. So when that line gets up to speed, we're going to see a few big rigs rolling out, and better late than never, I suppose. But they had to get everything right.
Yeah, the other one I don't know if you mentioned was Giga Berlin was just given approval to expand its plant in Berlin, in Germany, to be able to go from 500,000 cars, was it 1 million cars, to doubling that, right?
The preliminary approval in Berlin is cemented for just improving asphalt and some stairwells and all that. It's not the approval to actually expand the building just yet. Everything is on track, though. When Tesla is ready, it appears that the authorities there will approve it. I had Jan from Tesla Fix on recently, who lives in Germany, who helped break it down. And he explained that while it may appear to outsiders that Germany hates Tesla, it's just not the case. Tesla does get preferential treatment from the policymakers. And that's the important part. I mean, well, yes, but there was a vote, and even the voters said don't expand. It was a non-binding vote, and as you just pointed out, Herbert, they approved it anyway. So I don't think it's fair to say that Tesla gets bad treatment in Germany, or that the red tape is so excessive that they can't get their job done. Oh, what a week. All right, guys. Well, I am in Monterey when you watch this, so if you are here, get in touch. Let's say hello. And yeah, what did we miss? What did we misunderstand? Leave it in them comments below. I beg of you. Head on over, see what Herbert's up to over there on Brighter. He's got some fantastic guests. He's got some Hyperbull Roundup, Cyberbull Roundup, all the time going on. And at the end of the month, Herbert and I will both be at the X Takeover. What fun that will be. You guys can prove in person, at least to yourself, that we are both real and exist outside of these little boxes. I have assured you guys for years it was true, but people don't always listen. So everybody else, like, subscribe, do the usual, and stay tuned, stay juicy, and I cannot wait to hear from you clever robots at the X Takeover in San Luis Obispo.